Harshit Mishra, aka Hashbass. First of all, welcome to On VJ's playlist. It is such an honor to be interviewing you on this lovely Monday morning. I want to first begin by
Thank you.
asking, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I can't complain. I can't complain. It's getting hotter in Bombay, uh, and we're sitting inside. But
Yes,
I can't complain. I'm doing good. Doing good. Doing good.
I'm sure besides the sweltering heat, which unfortunately is none of our control, but I'm sure you are reaping in the fruits of all the hard work that you have put in behind your really path-breaking EP of the year fruit. So first of all, um, I have a really silly thing to ask before this. When you have to explain to your near and dear ones, especially those who um, aren't particularly following independent music, how do you explain a piece of art as fruits to them? Because the initial perception, the initial image that they can have about something just named fruits can vary from quirky to really absurd. So what have been some of the most absurd observations that have come your way when it comes to just naming your EP?
Um, Ever since I named the EP, and well, first of all, good to be here on your show. And
Thank you.
I would say that that it, the more than the absurd thing, it's always why. Why? Why fruits?
Why
Like
fruit? Yeah.
the thing is, it's a little short backstory to this is,
Correct.
um if imagine, not, I can't even say it's imagine, but 2020 pandemic, everything got shut.
Yeah.
And I predominantly was just as a session touring bass player at that point in time. And I started writing music, and I would write this music, and I would eat a fruit while writing this music. And I and I would be just like eating fruits, like, and I'd just be writing this music because I had very weird times of, like, how musicians are, like, we are
Yeah.
24-hour, we are switched on. So I would just
Right.
write and I would just eat fruits. And I remember writing the last track, which was actually strawberry. And I was having a different fruit, and I had to save my session. And I was like, what, how do I remember this? And instantly I had a thought. I was like, why don't I write fruits? And that was the concept in my head. And ever since I've told this to friends, family, I believe that everything, I believe that music, whatever you're making, is cool. If to make it more accessible to people, you need to make it, like, name it simple, in simpler ways. And that's how I named it. And I told my friends about it, and he's like, what, why are you doing this? Why mango? And I was like, dude, come on, mango is like the best fruit that anybody would like. And that's how, like, I've not gotten absurd, but I've always gotten a why, like why fruits. I'm like, dude, like, I was eating fruits. So it just so happened to be that I was making this music, and I wanted to save it on my system. And then what do I do? So I just randomly wrote a bunch of fruits name, because that's the most easiest thing that a human being can remember when it comes to, like, whatever you're doing. And yeah, so that's that. So that's how I named it fruits. And then one time I got this absurd thing where they were like like then I start getting requests from my friends. They're like, hey man, can you, like, name this as dragon fruit? Hey man, can you make this as
You
guava?
know,
Then he's like,
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there because, uh, to be very honest, and no offense,
no, no.
you can't blame if somebody has to turn around and say, dude, is about condoms over here?
I mean, I've never gotten that. That's a first, but whatever floats anybody's boat. It's as easy as like I said, it's accessible to people, to their interpretation, because
Yes.
it can, I would say that if you feel in that manner, then you can obviously think in that manner, because it's again flavors. And then
Right.
you would just, like, if you wanted fruits, then you have, like, fruits. But that's a nice interpretation as well. I never thought about it, and nobody showed up on my door saying that, hey man, that could be like, are you trying to sell, like, are you trying to do an brand endorsement with Durex? And I was like, no. But no, yeah, but it's damn funny that you mentioned it now. Like I need to like do you excite me? Like I would just be
Oh
like this,
God.
like, like but yeah, it's
But
fun. It's fun. It's fun how words and like things get emoted,
yeah.
and it's really interesting in the same way that you thought that this would be something. By the time it came out to the world perceived it in a very different manner.
Well, all I can say is that it is indeed one of the most unique and very very innovative pieces of art out there that we have had in the years so far. So
Wow, thank you.
while you were working upon your different tracks, Harshit, how did you ensure that each track, just like its name, there's pineapple, there is watermelon, there's banana, there's mango, and each one, it's too hard to pick a favorite because each one of them is so outstanding in its own amazing way.
Oh
So
my God, you're so
while
kind. You're so kind.
by my pleasure. Um, how did you ensure while working upon each track that the instruments would be they would vary, the composition would vary? Because sometimes what
Hmm.
also happens is, from what I have understood, from a layman's perspective, the way artists work is,
Right.
somewhere they would also like to maintain a certain level of uniformity in each composition that they are doing. But how do you
Right.
ensure that each track stands out, each track has a unique different story to tell?
Um, Thank you for the question. It's just that, see, the thing is like when I'm writing, producing, like producing my own music or producing an idea for somebody, I always, it might sound very cliche, but it's actually, I don't know, it's just, you know, it music is pretty flowing and you flow with it. I'd rather want myself to flow rather than to have uh, roadblocks or a preconceived notion about that I want to land up here. Of course, like if you have a brief, then everything changes. But with respect to fruits and anything that I put out in the future as well, like it's always been like to just writing, you know, writing without guilt, without thoughts, without questions, without answers, without why is that sounding that. So I remember the thing is the way I write these, I mean, I call them as tapes because they're, 17 minutes or 20 minutes long. I just start writing stuff. And the only uniformity that it's a very good observation that or the question that you asked is like, because I'm a bass player, a groove is something that is very important in my music. For every
Absolutely,
music
yeah.
producer, they have the USPs, right? So for me, it's the groove is the USP because, well, not because of a bass player, but generically, I love something that makes somebody move, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how I started perceiving music, and that's how I perceive it. And for a long time, like it was really hard to me to fit in, but then I found my own, I mean, I would say that I found my own groove. And that's how I wrote fruits in uniformity, where if it should flow from one track to the other. And then that's how I perceived in writing it. And I wanted that uniformity, that when it goes from one track to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, it just doesn't feel like, oh, what am I doing? But at the same time, I wanted it to uh, like like for me, one thing was very weird, like very hard for me at one point in time was naming these tracks, because everything was like whatever I'm hearing is like, oh crap, does it sound like mango? Does it make me feel like I want to have a mango, or does it make me feel like a pineapple? It's like a very self thought process. Like it's like, okay, what do I feel like when I listen to this track? So then that's how I renamed these tracks. But the uniformity thing, that I wanted to maintain, and I generally maintain on everything that comes out from my camp, basically, is it should make somebody move in some sort of way. That was my main motive. It was never like, oh, I need to get this sound or that sound. It was just like, okay, if I'm flowing in this direction, let me just venture it out and see that if it takes me to another direction as well. So that, I mean, I hope this answers your question, because I made it in a very, like, a lot, many things at the same time.
No, absolutely. I mean, the more information, the better, frankly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Also, like
Uh,
everything, like I love philosophy, so uh, I take music in a very philosophical way as well.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I if that's why I feel like it should be very much free flowing and see where you go, you know. So that's that.
Well
Please go
said.
on.
Very well said. Harshit, I would like to rewind back to the time when you made for Anita for a very, very special and for a very emotional reason. To be very upfront and honest with you, even though I know that you made it for your mother, I don't know why I could relate to it personally so much, because I too lost
Oh,
a father, about a year back. So
so
it
sorry to
felt,
hear that.
thank you so much. I mean, so for me, it felt as emotional as, you know, as it would have, felt for you. So was the mind space to, what was the mind space at that time when you were working on this track? Because, to get yourself together, to even
Yeah.
conceive something like this in the first place, to collect your thoughts, to process everything together, and then to put it out there for the world to, hear you out. First of all, how did
It's
that happen?
how do it's very interesting. Basically the thing is I lost my mom in 2019.
Yeah.
This is the same day when I released the track in 2020. And
Are you saying it's today?
it's no 2020 is
No,
when
I
I
think
released the track, and in October 2019 is when I lost my mom. So basically, it was this just the span of that one. Basically, it's just that. Okay, so it's in a very simple term. My mother's responsible for feeding music in my life. It's as simple as that. She was the one that who actually made me hear Stevie and MJ when I was 6 years old, and I didn't know who those guys were. But imagine, like as a kid, some information is getting fed in your ear.
yes.
And um, I moved back to India because when she fell ill, and it's just that the course of time that the course of time that went by in with her uh, going through the suffering of whatever went, and then I lost her, and I felt like there would be no other way to paying back to my mom to begin with. Just one of the ways that I can pay back is by writing a song for her. And I remember a night before my mom passed away, I was playing a gig with Shubham Mudgalji, who
Yeah.
was probably one of my all-time favorite artists, singer. I look up to her, and it's just like I can she's just a motherly figure to everybody, and I love her so much. Like I openly say her because I've had only few instances of playing with her, the music that she writes and in the ensemble, but it's just so uplifting and just so humbling to be around her aura. And so, long story short, another friend of mine, Blackstart Blues, who's a
Yeah.
you know best guitar player India could ever had.
Truly.
Um, I was just trying. I had an idea, and then I just bounced it off to him. It was. I still remember it was March. Um, Not even March. It was actually January of 2020 when I wrote. I had just an idea on the keyboard. I wrote, and I had a bass line, and then I sent it to Warren. And I remember the next day, no, the same afternoon, in 3 hours, he played everything back and sent it to me, and he laid down the guitars, and it's just the guitars that you hear on the track. There's nothing altered.
Yeah.
And then I sent it to another friend of mine, Nikhil Mokin, who's a drummer. I sent him the track. He recorded at his home. Then I had a word with Shubhaji, and I literally patiently waited for like 6 months. And she was so sweet. She bought equipment just to record the track. Like we were
Oh
sitting in
my
the
God.
mad pandemic, and she got equipment like a mic and a sound card and everything to record the track. And she recorded it and sent it to me. And then I sent it to my good friend in Chandigarh, Ranbir Sidhu, who's my mixing engineer also. For Fruits, he's also mixed and mastered everything. And he did additional engineering on it. And then I sent it to my another friend in New York, John Davis, who's also a Grammy Award winning engineer. And he mixed and mastered it, and then he sent it back to me. So it was all remotely done in places, but my aim was to put it out on the 1 year of my mom's death anniversary, and that's exactly what I was able to do it. And yeah, so the emotion behind it was just to write a song. And what I mean, I don't know anything besides music, so this was, I think, probably the most honest way of emoting it. to the world, and for more for her for personal reasons. But I feel like, so time has gone by, the track is out, it's been heard everywhere, it still gets played everywhere. I still feel like it's something that a lot of people relate to, even not with their loved ones, but with just like an emotion, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice. It's nice to see that. But
Well,
yeah, that's how I wrote the track.
well, I'm speechless at this point, Harshad, because when you speak up, I think this is where, greatness actually comes from. Greatness comes from these selfless acts, that just come, stem from a place of pure intention and pure,
Thank you.
absolute purity. And if, for someone to turn around and say, what, a legend, a living legend amongst us has gone out of her way to get equipment and record this for me, only speaks about the absolute
I
unconditional emotion behind what you did.
The humility that Shubhaji has, the humbleness that she has, and she's such a powerhouse. Like, it just it would put anybody in an awe to realize that you need to, like, you need to be on the floor knowing like what you are. Like, for me it's like if, like, I know for a fact, because I remember, like, a night before, like I told you, I was playing with Shubhaji, right? On a show. The
Yeah,
next morning, my mom passed, and the first person I called was Shubhaji, and I told her like this has happened, and I mean, it was just like, it's just why I don't even know why I'm saying this, but it's just like, it just always reminds me whenever I think of her. It's just like my hands go like this, and it's just like, how can I be of at service to you? You know what I mean? That's the musically or in however possible way. Because when I wrote, because it even like, imagine that a person at her age and with so much of experience
yeah,
still gets equipment and still records it and still says to me like, I'm really sorry for the delay. Like, it's like, no, you don't need to be sorry for the delay. I am very grateful to you that you have been able to sing. And she wrote the words, and I was like, she asked me, I remember, like, very clearly, she asked me, she's like, um what do you want me to write? And I said, please, whatever you want to write. That was my like humble answer to her. Like, I was like, listen, you please write whatever you want to write. And she wrote these words that are in the song, and it's just simple words, but if you read them, if you understand them, it's just too much. Like, it's too
yeah.
much, like, it's great. So anyways, yeah. You brought back great memories of me go running around inside my house and trying to figure this out while the pandemic was going on. So it was beautiful actually. When the whole thing came out, like, I was amazed the way, like, people perceive the song, and still do. Like, I still get messages from people from time to time, be like, man, what is this song? And I was like, okay, well, yeah, that's a song.
So in your situation, Harshit, I'm sure when the pandemic happened, which I have time and again in my interviews in the last couple of months, or rather, would I say in the last 1 year, I have kind of reiterated this fact in my interviews that um, the pandemic especially has been a boon in disguise for independent artists out there. But in your situation, I'm sure that those few months of lockdown, those few months of inactivity that all of us were witnessing, it kind of gave you a lot to declutter, a lot of perspective. Would you like to revisit back the time spent in the lockdown?
um I thank the pandemic in weird ways. I mean, I've got COVID twice, which is, I don't
Oh,
want to say anything about it. Yeah, I got COVID twice, which is very like, unfortunate. But
yeah.
I would say that the pandemic, I thank the pandemic. I say this in a way where it made me. I remember I had close to 35 gigs locked in for March and April to get
35.
a. Yeah, I had 35 gigs, like, on and off with stuff and all that,
My God.
and in both the months. And I remember it all got cancelled overnight. Overnight, like, I'm not kidding. Imagine getting calls from left, right, center. I was like, no, 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 it's not happening. And it gave me a. I remember I sat on my couch and I was like, what do I do now? You know. And it was like, I wasn't producing back then. I was just playing predominantly bass, like left, right, center, sessioning for people and all of that. And then I thought like, hey, what do I do now? I just don't want to be sitting like a jackass, like sitting and doing nothing. I can't do anything because I'm always on the move. So you want to be like that. It gave me a like that's when I started writing music. Fruits is one of those things that I wrote. It's the initial things that I wrote, and it took a long time for me. Thankfully to Misfits and everybody in my team, they put it out for me. But it's just the pandemic gave me a fresh perspective about things. I grieved, I laughed, I was sad, I was depressed, everything. Like I can't hide it. Like I to a point where I lost my head, to a point where I was just like stuck in a different city for months, and I had to fly back to Delhi. My father was alone. Like there were so many things that I had to go through. Musically, what it did to me was just sit and write. To a point where my laptop died. Like literally, it died. I bought another laptop in the pandemic, like because my
Oh,
system stopped working. Like
oh
it was
God.
like but what it did to me was I remember I wrote all of this music not in a studio. I wrote it like sitting on a like literally on a ironing board. I used to put my laptop on an ironing board, connect my headphones, and I start playing. Yeah, I wrote all of this music with just a MIDI keyboard and a laptop, sitting on an ironing board with just a Marshall speaker and a MIDI keyboard and my bass. That's I lucky. I was so lucky that I was carrying my sound card and my laptop with me the day they did a lockdown. But all of this stuff, what the fruits, basically, specifically fruits and all, like I just wrote it on just sitting in a corner, just playing, just trying to, and I taught myself. I taught myself. That was the best thing with the pandemic because you're shut. You're shut. You're in a room. You're in a house by yourself or with your loved ones. What the hell do you do? Like either you can just like start. Like I cribbed for the first week. I like, what is this? What is happening? Like I lost everything, and the gigs are gone, everything. But then I was like, man, you know what? I'm always blessed with like somebody around me who would just give me a kick, you know. And at that point of time, I was very blessed with my fiance, and she was like, "Yo, you should start doing something." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll start doing." And it was painful. It was painful in the beginning. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't do this." Like it was like that. But then I was like, maybe I have, because the way I've been educated, like I've done my music education, and the way
Yeah,
my teachers taught me was like, you always got to do more, for yourself. You
yeah.
always got to push it, keep pushing it. So I started writing, and then this idea of writing a song for my mom also popped in. I was like, hey, why don't I write a song? And people were so graceful and great. I was so grateful, and they had such grace that all I had to do was just reach out to these peers of mine who I've played music with, like bringing Shubhaji and Warren and everybody together is a big deal in itself. But I
Absolutely.
just reached out to them. Yeah, but I just reached out to them, and I was like, hey, could you be interested if you want to do it? And uh, the whole Indian music community knew about my mom's struggle and what the whole phase was, so they knew what I was going through, and they knew like once it just ended how it was. So they were very helpful. And then through that, I just started gaining some confidence by myself and writing. So for the last 2 years, I just kept writing. I
Yeah.
kept writing music. And I hate to say this now that things have opened up. I've not been writing for a while, but there's so much music that's been written on my system in my hard drives. But I still that's one discipline that I achieved. Like to just wake up every morning,
Yeah.
have my fruits, and then write the music, and then some days it would just be like nice. Some days it would be like delete. But most days I would keep what I had. So
Yeah.
I have something, I never delete things. So I have ideas that compiled into making things, So the pandemic was painful. It was surely depressing because I lost
Yeah.
loved ones, and a lot of people suffered, and we all suffered. But at the same time, it also gave me an insight on what's next for me, what's next for Hashbase. Because believe me or not, it used to always be like I would go play gigs, and they would be like, but hey, where's your music? This was the question all the time for the longest time, ever since I moved back to India. They'll be like, man, you're so good at what you're doing, where's your music? And I'll be like, I don't have any. Like, and then now I have so much of music, like thankfully to the pandemic. So I say thanks to the pandemic, but it has its those pros and cons, but I kind of like it was painful, but it was nice. I would say this like it's cool, man. Like whatever. Like it's I say whatever always in the end. It's because you don't really know, man, like how it's going to go down and how things are after the whole pandemic. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, so we're just living day by day. Yeah.
Let's talk about this insane combination of sitar and bass and drums that you brought out together in Lotus,
Lotus.
which is such
Ah,
an outstanding track in itself. So how did you
nice.
decide to experiment with the sounds in this manner?
Again, everything has a story. Every song has a story of mine, and it's
We are
just
all for
okay. So
stories.
yeah, no, no, no. But these are real stories. This is how my mind would act and my things. I would look at things and all of that stuff. Okay, so I love Fab India. Okay, everybody loves Fab India, and then you can't say no to Fab India because it's so nice place, and then everybody's house is I love me and my fiance and everybody loves Fab India. My dad loves it, so I would go to Fab India and I would listen to this music that's been played on through the speakers, which was a blend of contemporary music but still Indian, and I would
Yeah.
be like,
But
dude,
before that,
I want,
Harshit,
yeah.
I think I must put it out there to my viewers watching this. Hashtag this is not a paid promotion.
It is not a paid promotion at all. It is just out of our everyday um, things that we do that these all of these stuff happens. So this is not a paid promotion to Fab India. But I went to Fab. I used to go to Fab India, and with my dad and all, I would listen to this music, and I'd be like, "Wow, this is so cool! This is contemporary, yet it is still like Indianized. I would say like our root touch." And and this is the only thought that I had that I went back and I wrote Lotus. I was like, I just want a track of mine to play in Fab India. That was the most honest thought in my head. And I wrote the tune, and I remember writing this. I found some samples, I found this, then I wrote the drum part, wrote the keys part, wrote the bass part. And I remember my father is like my best critic, okay? Because he's just a third party listener.
Yeah.
And I remember like in my other house in Delhi, I was just writing this tune and I finished the tune, and my father was in the other room, and he literally walked into the room and he's like, "This sounds nice." And I was like, "Whoa, where did you come from? Like, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "No, this sounds great." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wow, like, that's cool. Like, if you like it." And I just literally shut down for the day, and I left it. I remember 2 days later, I opened up the same project. I played the tune. My father literally came again and he said, "Wait, I heard this tune 2 days back. It sounds great." And then I sent it out to my closest friends, and they were like, "This is very calming." And I was like, "Well, this is all I wanted to, you know, write something that is calming because I'll write to. There's this whole different side of me that wants to write calming music and everything, but um, that's how the Lotus came into perspective. And I practice Buddhism, so I just like this is the whole Lotus Sutra that you talk about. I don't bring all of that stuff into the mainstream thing, but that's how the thing came. And then every time I would hear the song, it would just remind me of a lotus. Kid you not. I would just shut my eyes and I would listen to it and it would remind me of a lotus, like how it comes out from the dirt, you know. Mostly that's how my life has also been like, it's always been like a mad hectic or mad stressful, and then it just comes out of I've just been at it. So wanted to write something that it's just very calming, and also like a lot of people immediately sent me a message when the song dropped. It's like it's added to my night listening, it's added to my work playlist, it's added
Yeah.
to my morning playlist. A lot of people send me two random people sent me, they said every morning we wake up and I play this track in our
It is a
house
part of my
while we.
drive time playlist. I must say that.
Oh yeah, so thanks. I would say thank you. So it's I wanted to make it like a track that just like you can hear at any point of the day. But the track came out of like me wanting it to be played somewhere, and well, I had no expectations from there, but I wrote this track. So that's how Lotus came into perspective.
Well, like they say, the universe works in strange ways, Harshit. Before we wrapped up this interview, which I must say
Sure.
has been a very, very fulfilling interview for a Monday afternoon. Before we wrap this up, my final question to you is, you very rightly said that you like a certain discipline. You feel that you haven't been putting out music lately, but I would like to tell you that It's absolutely okay to pause also once in a while when you have really, sat and delivered back to back with so many wonderful music, with so much of wonderful music. I think it's absolutely okay to give yourself that pause. But once you decide to take that well-decided pause, what next from here?
What next from here? Um, I never take a pause. It's just like I when I say like I see the thing is with pandemic we were all stuck, right?
Yeah.
So you could devise a regime, or you could plan out a regime for your day, right? So things have opened up now. It's just like, okay, hustle bustle everything, tussle, like you rehearsal, yada yada yada. So when I say this, I just don't want to. I definitely want to pause in the sense like, well, like my music is out there and everything, and more music is on the way. So what next for me is just producing for a lot of people. I love producing music for a lot of people. I would love to write for a lot of music. Like I'm just maybe like a lot of productions with a few artists that I can't name, but also my own music. Like I have so many different sides of me. Like fruits is just one side of me that has just come out. There's so many different sides that I have, and so what? As far as you have asked me, like a very simple answer is a lot of music, a lot of music, and a lot of productions, a lot of collaborations. But yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, what next? If you ask me, my own music production work, and hopefully like uh, produce for a lot of people. That's something that is on my radar right now. Like I want to write for a lot of people and produce and make, like if they have a idea that to build it up, to make it a dream, like which is possible, which we can all hear. Because I see myself like during the pandemic, I never saw myself to be in this seat of being a music producer for people. Now I'm enjoying it. So I would want to be that. But at the same time, also play live, also take this on the road, Hashbass live, which I already did, but now just take it into full flow. So all in all, just keep doing a lot more, from what I was already doing. But at the same time, also want to take it a little easy because it just gets a little bit of wearing out, so from time to time.
Well, like I always keep telling artists, onwards and upwards, Hashbase, here's raising a toast to the power of true intentions and, absolute aspirations. Thank you so much for talking to me on Vijay's
Thank you,
playlist.
Vijayalakshmi. No,
And I really hope
sorry,
that
you
the
were saying.
next time we met, I know I was saying that I really hope the next time that you and we have a chat again, it's in person and offline. I can't wait.
I'm so happy to be here. Your question, I would say this, that this is one of the best ones that I've had, because it's very
Thank
thought out, and thanks to you. No, seriously, it's very thought out. Like when the question came to the questions that you raised, it was very thought out. It was just not like, what is food? It's just because it's more than that. So I'm very very happy to be here, and yes, we will definitely meet in person, or the next time whenever we do this, you will have a lot more music to listen to and to ponder upon. But thank you so much.
I'm all for it once again. Harshit, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you for the
Thanks.
kind
Thanks,
words.
yeah. Thanks, yeah.